Humming, one of the best ways to regulate your nervous system and your body and help bring relaxation and tune into vibration. Okay, so today's going to be a fun one. We're going to talk about some goddesses, some peoples, some things, and we're going to start with the hat first. Okay? So this is my Christmas present to myself, and hopefully you can see the sparklies going on. Did you know that part of the purpose of the hat is the pyramid shape? Because the theory is that, not the theory is, it has been proven that pyramids, just the shape of a pyramid, has a certain vibration. This is why you'll see in some of the kind of like crystal or meditation places where people will have copper pyramids set up in their rooms or in their houses or in a certain place in their yard, and then sit under it and do meditation and such. Well, the copper helps to amplify the energy. From what I've learned, you can make a pyramid shape out of anything and it will harness that energy. This is where they used to use. So you'll see like old nun hats will have a spike at the top. You'll see in several different types of like either mythology or religion where they have a hat with a pyramid type shape on the top of it. And in schools they would put the dunce, the one who wasn't thinking as, say, efficiently as everyone else in the classroom, would put a dunce cap on them and it would be shaped like a pyramid. And the point was to help bring in smartness, help them be smarter. So is it, like the theory that it's a witch's hat? Well, cool, but also it's a hat with a pyramid on it and it's supposed to help me be smarter and help people be smarter. So we'll see what happens. Okay. Well, today I want to start with one of the goddesses that I learned about through the oracle deck that I have, Sacred Mothers and Goddesses. And today's goddess is Kuyen. Kuyen. And I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Kuyen. Doesn't it sound very Asian? I thought for sure when I first saw this, I prepared myself for a link to say Kuan Yin. Even though the yen is included in the name with Kuan Yin, it's like a separate name. So anyways, Kuyen is a moon goddess, and she is a South American moon goddess. Her message in the deck would be ancestors and past lives. But she is the moon goddess of the Mapuche people of Chile and Argentina. And I did a little research on the Mapuche people, and the history there is one of the largest tribes of indigenous Americans in South America. And their history is similar to some of the indigenous people, not some, but all of the indigenous people in the Americas, in that they battled some of the people there within the land. Supposedly they had a battle with the Incas, and then a battle with the Spanish, and in that were limited in number due to disease and, of course, war, and then also the changes with colonization and religion influenced a lot of the peoples in the area. So that's a little bit of background. And so she represents the 3 phases of the moon. I'm going to hold this up while I read it so you can get a little extra. And there are names for each phase of the moon. Kuyen Olcha is the new moon. Kuyen Nugua or Nuke is the full moon, and Kuyen Kushe is the crone moon. So you have the triple goddess going on with her. And she has power or control over the lakes and oceans of the earth. And she is the wife of the sun god. I always, it's okay. And in this story is that he hit her once, and that's why she is the moon over there, waiting for him to, it says here that he struck her once, so she stays out of his reach until she is healed. I'm sorry, but part of what I think needs to happen is these type of stories, like this might be the story, and also no, she stays away from him forever. He does not get to, why? And why is it that he's fine? It just makes me so mad that even in mythology stories, there is this air of just expected abuse to the goddess or to the feminine aspect, and that she still loves him. It literally says she still loves him. No. No. Okay, anyways, I'm going to continue with the story. Thanks for listening on my little sidebar rant. Okay. One of the daughters was gifted, again, they gifted one of their daughters to Earth and to man, and she became the first woman and mother to all. Okay, all right, that's fine. As long as it's still giving the authority to the mother. And it is said in here that the shamans of the Mapuche are females called Machi, which I felt was like magician, and that they led all ceremonies and rituals and are doulas and healers for the tribe. Each Machi owns a ceremonial drum, and which is called a coltrum, that is used to call for spirits of the ancestors. And the drums are sacred and painted with cardinal directions. And then they have in red to represent the blood shed of the land, along with symbols of the moon, sun, and stars. Magical items can be placed inside the drum as suggested by Kuyen, and these can be crystals, teeth, and other sacred and secret items known only to the Machi. So this to me represents our natural magic, the authority that it was understood that the females were the ones who led spiritual and life-giving rituals as well as other rituals or practices, because ritual is another colonialized word that has been given to us about ourselves. And from what I was remembering, and Mother's messages are that we might have practiced certain things, but we didn't consider it a ritual. It wasn't something like you had to do or that we did on a specific date. That is another thing that has been, we're going to talk about that a little bit. about the calendar and dates and seasons, but just recognizing that what we did as a practice, knowing life and seasons and how to navigate may be called rituals today. Okay, so with that, I did as much research as I could, and she is a moon goddess according to the peoples, and that she represents all phases of the moon. So I see her as a triple goddess. Also, she is a creatrix in that her daughter came here to help populate all of the earth. And so again, it is a daughter coming to, or a mother coming to populate the world. And this is through South American lore and one of their creation stories. Okay, so, and then, as I said, I did a little research on the Machupi people, and I just want to show you some stuff, because you know how I talk about Tartaria a little bit, and how I theorize it was everywhere. So check this out. So this is off of Britannica via Google, looking up about the Machupi people and their lands. And so it's like Chile, Argentina. They're also close to what is called the Atacama Desert, which is reported to never have had rainfall from what I researched about it. But also there's some interesting, well, let me show you a picture of the desert, because you know how I feel about giant trees. See if I can make this bigger. So see the mountain in the background as well? And doesn't this look something like a tree stump right here? I'm gonna it's in panoramic. So here's like the small version. I'll hold that up. You see the two mountains in the background. So this is a desert. This is the outside of the desert. Okay, and then, all right, to the Tartarian thing. And this story is based on the history of Chile, but Chile, as we know, like most places, somebody was there before them. Anyhow, okay, so I've noticed that in almost every movie, and I'm starting to realize places I lived were old Tartaria, and I was like, what? Of course I wouldn't have put it together, but wow. Okay, so I want to show you this picture, because I think it shows, again, I mean, it's just, it makes me, I want these stories. And I feel like maybe it's going to the places, you know how people will go to certain places and they'll get remembrances or certain feelings. Okay, hold on here. What happened? Maybe because I zoomed in on it. Wait a second. Where are we? Okay, here we go. I'm going to pause it real quick. I'm going to be right back with that photo. Or maybe not. I don't know what's going on, but maybe after maybe the bots inside the phone are doing so. Some of the photos aren't showing up. The commercials are, though. But I think it's the courthouse in Peru. Let's just see. I said Peru. I meant Chile. Let's see. Let me see if I can find that. That worked. Because all of these old buildings become government buildings. My goodness. Look at this. Let's see. Let's see if I can. I mean, stop it. Okay. Here's one photo of the Chilean courthouse. And it's hard to see what's going on with that statue. Looks like two males. Let's see if I can find another picture. Here we go. Pretty sure, yeah, females all around. Just saying. And this is another photo. Let's make sure this is appropriate for the UB-tubies. Oh yeah, okay, so the male are at the top. Let's see, you see that's a great mother, and she's reading a book or something. And then the males are like looking down at her. And it says, tributes to Justice. So Lady Justice here is based off of Colombia, which is what the Americas used to be called, which is what the United States used to be called. I did a short little video on that. Okay, moving on. So speaking of the moon, I wanted to talk a little bit about the moon calendar because we are in what is called a new year. So I want to talk a little bit about that because winter, so where I'm at, what I see at winter time is budding. So right now the oak tree that during the fall season had no leaves on it, had no buds on it. Now that we're in winter time, it actually has quite big buds on it, leaf buds. So the leaves are starting to come back. We're also starting to have a little bit more greenery because we haven't had a lot of snow, but we've had a ton of rain. So I'm just proposing, because I've talked about this before, that I feel like for witches, or I've had a witchy feeling or a feminine feeling, whatever you want to call it, that October, like September, October, specifically October, is like a new year. September, October, November feels like the new year, new beginnings, big changes. We're told that the veil is very thin. We're also, on this part of the world, when you go by seasons, it is harvest. It is the completion of the work of the previous season so that we would have a harvest. And then planting and renewing the soil begins through winter into spring. So everything is technically not dead. I feel like fall represents, so, and then on the other side of the planet, it would be spring. On the other side of the planet, it would be spring. Over here, it's fall, right? Or I say the other side of the planet, but on the other side of the waters, let's just say that, in the different realm zone on this planet. So I just wanted to mention that because though it is a darker time of year, my theory is that fall is when there's this big push to kind of like do a bunch of stuff, is technically the beginning of the new year or new season, because we didn't celebrate a new year. We didn't celebrate holidays or holy days in the way that we've been taught to do them today, or even how we've been taught how we used to do them, because most of the time we don't know the truth about how we used to do things because it is very colonized. It has been rewritten and oftentimes is taught by males who leave out the feminine or the females. Okay, so let me see here. So we talk about the word oracle. There it is. So also, things used to be dictated orally, and writing came in as a tool that has also been used to shift things or change things. So just because it's written doesn't mean it's true. And I have often said it was written, so it has been written. And I'm wondering, like, I love writing. I think communication and writing is definitely a form of art. And also, Mother showed me we didn't write things down. Not in the way that we do today. We had story time. We had oracles. We might have an art that expressed certain things. We definitely have like cave paintings and that type of thing. So that could be applied to writing and those kind of tools. But ultimately, Oracle. So I've been playing with words a little bit. And if you spell oracle backwards, you get El Caro, which I thought was kind of cool. But also you get words like clear and ear. I thought that was interesting. Just throwing that out there. Now, so okay, I talked about New Year and then October. And then if we talk about the calendar, and we're going by the sun, when really the calendar is based on the moon, we would have had a new moon on the 30th of December. So now we're into the new moon, we're into a different moon phase, moving towards the full moon. And then we calculated a new month 2 days after the new moon. So we see these links between the moon constantly when you recognize the connection to the calendar that we go by, the Gregorian calendar. But I'm also going to say, if we go by the Julian calendar, which is what Catholicism or the Vatican bases their holy days on, we're not even in a new year yet. We would have 10 more days. It's not even Christmas yet. Wait, would it be Christmas? 13 days backwards. So today is the 3rd. So it would be the 20th, right? No, it was 31 days. So it would have been the 21st. So see? And then I've done a video on this about breed, or what it has been mispronounced as Bridget or Brighton, which is technically what New Year's is based off of. And Janus, we've been told that New Year's or January is named after Janus, a male deity, but also this Janus had 3 faces, like a triple goddess. And in today's modern world, mostly females are given the name Janus, but that's in the English culture, because I think in other cultures, Janus is a very popular male name. But there is some research I did a long time ago that showed that technically each of the months are named after females, and then as patriarchy and certain religions came in, these dates changed. And then also, if it doesn't include 13 and there isn't some kind of dragon involved, are we getting the truth about it? Because even with the Chinese calendar, it's 12. It's missing an animal. It's missing something. We always had 13 before. Always. So why aren't we wondering and questioning about this 12 months? And then what that did to time. And then how it changed our perception about so many things. Okay. And then, so there's that part. And then, let's see. Oh, okay. Okay. I did some more goddesses. Which page is this on? A little bit more. So I'll save that one because it will continue with specifically indigenous deities. But I wanted to mention that, yeah, okay. Because I also wanted to, yeah. Oh, did I talk about this before? Did you know that Thesis is a goddess? Did I mention this in another video? I don't remember if I have or not. Thesis is the name of a goddess. Yeah, I think I did. And then alma mater, and then we have a syllabus, and these all go to college. You know that alma mater means the nurturing mother. I feel like we did talk about this. And then what I noticed with one of the goddesses, let's see, it says here, so I'm going to do some double checking on this, but I'm pretty sure that through, okay, Yatiku is either a people's, yeah, it's a goddess, a Pueblo goddess, Yatiku. And one of the things, she's a corn goddess, and she would take, I did a little bit of a video on this. She's Pueblo. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this back is because of the language. So, Haku was a messenger or a goddess of the underworld. Haku. In Maori, there is Haka. And then we have Heka. And all of these go back to speaking. So I'm noticing a language similarity to Haku, Heka, and Haka. And these are, in these groups, described as a way to communicate with the deities. So when we say Heka, when we're speaking, my theory is it is linked to this same kind of etymological relation to that sound word. Haku and Haka and then Heka. Okay. And I feel like I got a little off. I'll double check if I did a video about, help me out. Did I do a video about thesis and alma mater and the syllabus? Did I say I was going to do a video about that? I rewatched my last couple of videos. I feel like I didn't mention it. But, and I went into that because of darkness. And then today, during a conversation, speaking of darkness, I'm talking about crystals. Okay, so I'll finish this video. It's a little all over the place, but that's okay. That's how it goes. About the idea of Christ consciousness and crystal. Okay? And this all goes back to darkness, because my more progressive or more educated, I don't know. I feel like both of those sound kind of snobby. But through learnings and sharing a lot of the things that I've shared with you guys and studying the moon, revisiting words like light and dark, and I think light became light when it was initially meant to mean truth, including the word Lucifer, which is light bringer, which became bad. But when light bringer means somebody who's bringing truth or enlightenment, not necessarily like literal light, like something bright or something that you can see with, because the moon and then the stars and astrology and everything I've talked about before, the moon. Okay, now crystal and Christ consciousness. So to me, when we say Christ consciousness, it still brings it back to specifically a male perception of what Christ represented, which isn't bad, yet it is still focused on light, and it is focused on a perception. So however you perceive it, and I think mostly for myself, when I hear Christ consciousness, I immediately picture the so-named Jesus Christ figure, and then the ideas of their teachings, which is, love and connection and well-being. Okay, well, Christ, and the word, from what I learned, comes from crystal. I meant to bring in my little board, but I didn't. So we'll do this together maybe. Or you don't have to. But if you write out the word crystal, I'll just use this. I will use this. And I'll write it out big. C-R-Y-S-T-A-L. Okay? Crystal, right? And then if you spell, so this is Ka, Ra, Ya, Sa, Ta, A, La, Christ, Allah. Allah. Yah is in there. Ka, Ra, Ah, like Aleph. Okay? All, there's a connection in there. And it forms the word crystal. So to me, when we talk about Christ consciousness, we're talking about a crystalline consciousness, aligned in a crystal formation. So here's just an example of selenite and its crystal formation. Okay, what's kind of cool about selenite, which relates to the moon, is you can see each kind of layer, but then it's all one stone. Okay, and then look at that. But guess where crystals are formed? In darkness and under pressure and for a long time. Everything comes from darkness. Okay, everything comes from darkness. From the ground, from like her elements and memory in a crystal. And this is why when you sit with a crystal, and it's any kind of crystal or stone, right? Any kind of mineral that has become into a form that we can call a stone or a crystal, came from the earth. It was dug out of the earth. It was formed within the earth. And then I was watching something where they showed an amarylite, which is the shell. It's like in this formation, a shell, and it ends up with rainbow colors on it, but there's no, like it's not a tree, you know? It becomes opalized, and I used to say that all opal was from trees or some form of tree, but I'm starting to wonder if all opal is some form of life, that it was some form of life. And then plasma, blah, blah, blah. But I want to talk about crystal and that kind of perception. And then we bring in the name crystal, that you hear that more. I've not met a male named Crystal. I've only met females named Crystal. And then that when you say crystal to someone in comparison to Christ, there is a different perception. A crystal consciousness. Okay? So those are some just side note stuff. Not side note. New Year's, and then, numerology. We're in a 9-year. We can go into that. That will be a different video. I'll write that down. 9-year. Because, alright, I will talk about this real quickly when it comes to numerology, because other countries have different calendars. However, almost all cultures have a calendar. So, if all cultures have a calendar, there is some form of numerology involved. And I started wondering, so does that mean that every country's system has some knowledge of gematria and uses the numerology along with their politics and part of the whole big spell to operate certain agendas and holidays and rituals, so to speak, on those places? And the response I got was, of course. Of course. And then it also keeps us all separated, because there must have been a time where we were all on the same moon 13-month cycle. Wouldn't that kind of unite everyone on some level? Whereas if we have different calendars with different dates and different years. I don't know. I find that a little interesting. So I thought I'd just mention that side note. Again, a bunch of side notes. Now you have a book. Okay. So some more humming. Oh, one more. One of the messages is dancing and the way we move our hands. So we'll use mudras. So I got this glean listening to someone talking about, his name is Remedy on YouTube. One of my friends shared with me, and he's talking about the convergence that's coming up, the planet convergence. And then he starts talking about mudras. And Mother was showing me, like, there are jillions of mudras. So we found mudras that great mothers showed us, including even this mudra. Then we have this mudra, and then these are ways, we say mudras, but you have so many points on your hands. And then when you're dancing, you're doing all kinds of stuff with your hands, right? So you're creating mudras as you're dancing. Dancing is one of the highest forms of meditation we can do, is the message I got. Dancing. I was kind of floored by that, because we've been taught, like, sitting and being still. So what I'm seeing is that we didn't do that either. We didn't. Even old depictions of the goddess were standing. Anyways, we'll dive into that a little bit more, but a theory that the sitting came later also, and is a form of, like, maybe kind of creating a new control over the female teachings, because we did a lot of movement. We did tons of movement. And we would find messages and symbols and sounds, different forms of vibration through dancing. I mean, it's amazing what dancing does for the body. So I found that interesting. Thought I'd share it. Okay. It's a little longer than I expected, but that's okay. A little different than my usual, but I will be coming back with more about the goddess. And then somebody mentioned, anyways, you'll just see it when it happens. Yeah. Okay. All right. So a little humming before we go. And some singing bowls. So singing bowls are like humming from the outside. So I feel like if you do both, feels good too. All right, thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. And welcome to 2025. Until next time.